Camera set. And action.
Hey guys, it's the Beantown Angler, and today I will be reviewing this reel, which is the Nasky 5000.
This week marks episode 52 of the Beantown Angler. I started the channel last November.
This is a test video, and it looks like the microphone is working.
And since then, so much has changed. The channel went from 0 to 513 subscribers and 26,000 views. A lot is shown on camera and in the videos, but a lot is also never shown. A lot of hours of editing and filming,
Bro, it's pretty dark,
are unknown to you, the viewer, and how the channel started is also probably a mystery. This is the story of the Beantown Angler.
Hey guys, it's the Beantown Angler.
And how I went from not fishing too much to fishing being the #1 thing on my mind.
Oh, that fish
As a kid, I always wanted to run some sort of business or company. Cal and I, along with our neighbors, would always be running a lemonade stand in the spring and early summer months. When Rainbow Loom blew up in 4th and 5th grade, Cal and I made a killing selling to kids in our grade. Cal even made a YouTube tutorial, which I guess is our first crack at making a YouTube video. This was always fun for Cal and I, and we made some money with it as well, but it wasn't always about the money. To me, it was about having something, a business, to call your own, no matter how much money you would make. Throughout middle school, these small business ventures started to slow down until we got into acting. They say luck is a matter of preparation meeting opportunity, but Cal and I didn't really have any of that when we walked into our first audition for a movie called Joy. Cal and I always loved movies.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
And this is not an exaggeration, but one day, Cal literally just asked my mom, "Hey mom, can we be in a movie?" And she said, "Sure, why not?" And a few weeks later, there was an open call at Boston Casting, which is the biggest casting agency in Boston. The call was looking for boys around our age. She drove us to this audition, and we went in scared and nervous, since this was really our first audition ever. All the other kids in the audition room were older and had more experience, and had real, actual resumes. All Cal and I had were headshots that were taken in our backyard, and our resume was just my mom's phone number on a white sheet of paper. The casting director, to our surprise, told all the older, more experienced kids to go home because they were too old. And all that was left was Cal and I and this one other kid. We taped the improv, and then that was it. We left not knowing what to think. But a week later, we were at Legal Seafoods in Boston, and I'll never forget, but a text came through that Cal was most likely going to be picked for the part. This launched us into the world of acting forever. We've been doing it ever since. A few years later, it's freshman year at Milton High School. I had just gone into high school, and of course, it was a new but great experience. I really enjoyed high school, and at the end of the year, in the cafeteria, the teachers and administration did an award ceremony known as the Book Awards. For each subject and elective, a book is given to one lucky recipient that the teacher picks. All the best students end up winning awards. I had taken an intro to business class that I really enjoyed, and when it was time for the award, I thought that if I was going to win anything at all, it was probably going to be in this class. And sure enough, my name was called, and I walked up and picked up the award. This was the last week of school. After the awards, and I got home, I unwrapped the gift to see that it was a book called Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. The book was all about business on social media. To me, it wasn't that interesting because I had no idea who this guy was, or really what the book was about at all. We went up to PEI and filmed our movie, Best Served Cold.
What are you doing here?
And the book was forgotten about until the fall, when sophomore year started. I saw the book lying around and decided to read it because why not? And when I say this book really changed my life, it really did. I don't think that there are too many coincidences in life, but right when I finished the book, I got crushed into the boards at UMass Amherst, breaking my elbow and requiring me to be put in a full arm cast for 6 to 8 weeks. For the first time, maybe ever, I couldn't play hockey at all. And the weekend happened to be game free for Cal as well, meaning we had a totally open weekend. This is also mid-September, which again happens to be when the Martha's Vineyard Striped Bass and Bluefish Derby takes place. 3 events lined up into what I didn't know at the time, but would ultimately lead me to creating the Beantown Angler YouTube channel. That first weekend derby fishing was amazing. I had no idea what the derby was, and I wasn't that hooked into fishing, so my interest level wasn't too high, but I still loved the vineyard. I didn't even catch a single fish. People all around me were catching all sorts of albies, and we exclusively fished at the Edgartown Lighthouse. Week 2 was more the same, but week 3 that's when the fever really hit. I still didn't know too much about the derby and the prizes and the fish that were weighed in. And we went into the weigh-in station that night, and these two little kids, the Warburtons, brother and sister, came into the weigh station with what was the biggest fish I'd ever seen up at that point. They were both 14-pound bluefish, and that just blew my mind at the size because all we caught were little tiny snapper blues. The fever really struck me. The next weekend, Cal and Mom couldn't go down with us because Cal had a game, so Swing, Dad, and I went to Lobsterville Beach to fish albies in Bonito. The day was really dead for the first hour after sunrise. No action at all. But then, out of nowhere, a huge bluefish hit my pink epoxy. It was a miracle that it caught the fish at all. I wasn't using a huge leader, and normally bluefish would bite right through non-steel line. My rod was really light as well. I fought the thing for 20 minutes, having no idea what it was. Then we saw it in the water in a wave, and my dad yelled that he thought it was a striper. I started to back up to make sure that the line didn't snap. When I finally pulled it up on the beach, I was backed up all the way to the dunes, and all I could see was my dad gaping at the fish. It was a monster blue, and they were yelling. This was special because the leaderboard for shore bluefish was not that big. All the fish were pretty small, under 10 pounds, so we immediately drove into the weigh-in station and weighed the thing in. It weighed 10.77 pounds, putting me in second place in the shore division category for adults. The last weekend, I ended up getting knocked to third, and then the last day of the derby, I got knocked off. I caught albies the last weekend as well, which is just insane, and Cal actually won third for kids category for albies.
Calidor Robinson. Calidor, come on.
The bluefish landed me first in the kids state derby, and after this, the derby really hooked its claws into me, and it got me so addicted to fishing. The derby ended, and all I thought about was how so many insane things hadn't been filmed that really should have been. Then I remembered about Gary Vaynerchuk's book on the internet and YouTube. I started watching videos on making a YouTube channel, and I just really was interested in creating, and I was just really interested in making videos. What was super important to all this was the basement. We already had the lights, the backdrop, and the camera and the mics, all for doing self-tapes for acting. The camera was still my mom's at this point, but we ended up buying it from her later. All the right things were in place for me to start, and we even already had editing software. All I needed to do was to just make the first video, and I did. Those first couple of videos were really fun to make, but when I look back now, I wonder why I thought they were so good. But it was the best I could have made. I never watched YouTube for entertainment before I started the channel, only really tutorials and the occasional fail video. So the world of YouTube was very open to me for my discovery. I was still reading all sorts of articles, and in pretty much all these articles, one person kept coming up. Casey Neistat. So I looked him up, and I was totally instantly hooked to his style of editing, the time lapses, and his just insane intro. I hadn't seen anything like it before anywhere, so it was totally shocking. Finding Casey Neistat on YouTube helped to push the channel to higher quality videos. These videos started to improve after this, and I started to copy his style a bit and make it my own.
Little Holiday Express members gift bag. Kit Kat, chips, water.
The first 16 videos weren't even really fishing videos. They were tackle reviews, or a Bass Pro adventure. Then we went to Florida and we got our first crack at catching fish on the channel. It was great to finally show some real fishing action, and it was just a total blast. Then Cal and I filmed our first YouTube short film, Why We Fish, which is being shown at its first film festival actually this weekend. I filmed my first cinematic video on the vineyard after discovering Sam Coulter on YouTube. Casey Neistat really helped grow the channel, but Sam Coulter was the one who really inspired me to start making these movies. Spring was in full swing and we caught some tiny stripers, and then July hit and we took that trip to the vineyard, which was just absolutely insane. It was my dad's birthday and 6 videos came out that trip. We caught so many fish, it kind of spoiled me a bit. We went up to PEI after this for the summer, and somehow the stripers followed us there. I caught a few, but my dad caught an absolute monster that summer. We couldn't catch a tuna and came home in September. We fished the derby with not too much success. I did catch my first bonito, but that was about it. The last film from there came out last weekend. So these past 12 months have been absolutely incredible. I've learned a lot on YouTube. I've really practiced at getting better. And there's been a lot of good. There's been some bad, but really just a lot of good. Hey guys, be quiet. Good.
You can't. What mode should I go?
$10:07, and I'm starting the day off with a good breakfast. Wait.
Nah, screw it. A bit nicer, you know? He hasn't landed it yet.
So the first week that we were down at the vineyard, it was pretty.
So this is officially the last episode of Season 1. This is Season 1, Episode 52. And with Season 2, we're going to bring some new changes, most notably 4K 24. It's going to make everything look more cinematic, just more like a movie. And the 4K will just future-proof us so that when everything starts to move 4K, which it's already doing now, the videos will be good for years to come. So make sure you guys stay tuned for next week, Season 2, Episode 1.
Where did you go after the show? I went looking for you out in the snow. After so many years, it's ending in tears. Where will you be?
Good action this morning off North Lake. Molly, say hi. It's Francis' boat over there. There is things happening today. These guys aren't gonna last long. This is. Oh my goodness. North Lake. PEI.